Welcome back, everybody, to the North Central Washington MVP series brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Rosendo Alvarado. He is the Senior Plant Director with Sila Nano. Rosendo, welcome and thanks for being our most valuable partner this week.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Glad you're here. Well, let me take care of a few housekeeping items and then we'll kind of get right into it. So I always like to remind everybody that our goal today is simple: to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another, be it industry, nonprofits, educators and students, or community members with an interest in what's happening around them. So a win looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work being done all around North Central Washington. So grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. I like to do a quick introduction, and I had a chance to talk with Rosendo earlier this week. He's got a great story. He was born and raised locally. He's a family man. He's certainly one of the most humble and thoughtful people that I work with, and I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of really great people, so that's saying a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One thing about Rosendo, he also mentioned to me that the role at Sila was really exciting to him because it gave the opportunity for him to really get involved in the community and put time into that workforce development. And I'm just going to say, personally, I know this, he meant it. Sila Nano is the real deal. And I'm repeating myself over and over because it's true. But when I show up on, in the offices or send an email, I usually have an ask. And every single time since I've started partnering with Sila Nano, without fail and faster than the speed of light, the Sila Nano team comes to play. They are signing up for volunteering. And I just want to say on my part, it's super amazing and humbling, and the Career Connected Learning team really can't thank you all enough. So I'm grateful for that. But back to Rosendo, personally, he and his wife have been married for 33 years. They have 3 adult children. And when he's not working, he prefers to be outside taking advantage of all the great outdoor activities that we have. Hunting and fishing are the top of the list. So Rosendo, I have to ask,
Yeah.
what's your best fish story?
I think the one that comes to mind all the time, at the top of the list is my youngest son used to always, all my boys were in travel sports. So we had a tournament and we hadn't been able to get out fishing much. And he really loves to get out. And so I said, let's just go in the morning before you got to be there for batting practice. And we went out and we had about an hour and a half and he ended up catching, it was just under 11-pound walleye on Moses Lake. And, and yeah, and like he did it all himself. I think he was, right around 11 or 12 years old, but it was a quick little trip that we weren't gonna, I didn't expect to catch much. It was just to get out there, but yeah, he landed the big fish and that's always stuck with me in my memory. And I'm so appreciative of getting that opportunity.
That's awesome. That's actually one of the best fish stories I've ever heard, because usually, we're talking about, oh, it was, and it was, yeah. So anyways, I love that. And I know fishing stories because my father-in-law is a pretty big fisherman. So,
Yeah,
anyways, well, all right, sir, are you ready to do this?
sure.
Okay. All right. So as of late, I've really been leaning into the fact that many of our viewers are students. These videos, these recordings live on through our YouTube channel, and then our teachers are able to use those in the classroom. So I feel like, you've got this very relatable and very real story as to how you made your way to senior plant director with Sila. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Oh, yeah, I can share that definitely. Um, so I think like really, I talk about like at a young age. So my parents, like my grandparents migrated to the Northwest from Texas in the 50s and they got work out here in the Wheeler Corridor area for some of the farmers like Masto and others. So they were working in the agricultural side of things for the farmers. They had us working out there. They eventually, bought potato trucks to haul for the farmers, and we were involved in that work since I remember, like 9 years old, being out there hoeing weeds or unloading potato trucks. So, work values were instilled in us quite early, and so were the skills. Like we should learn how different things work on the trucks or different parts and pieces, in terms of like changing water or something like that. Real simple things, but we gained skills from that, and I always was intrigued in the learning process. So I took that a little bit further in other jobs. And when I was 26, I started working for REC Silicon, and I was started entry level as a technician. So that's more of the labor intensive side of the job. We would unload the furnaces to harvest products and things like that. So I then moved into the operations and started gaining some of the skills for operating in an industrial plant, and then moved into supervision and was selected to take on the commissioning of a project. So once I did that, I started moving forward in the skill set quite a bit, learning different things about commissioning, scheduling, and working with the construction groups and how that all works out. So then went back into to lead in other areas of the business as a manager in a couple of the units, and then was asked to go to Butte, Montana, the other facility that REC had, to make some cost improvements, and so I did that for 4 years. When COVID hit, I came back home. I was commuting every week, so I would just leave on a Monday and come back on a Friday, and did that for 4 years. Originally, it was like a six month ask, but it
Yeah.
kind of kept going and going and going. So when COVID hit, it wasn't a good thing, but I was happy to come home
Yeah.
and stay home because I didn't plan on going back. And then I was working here in the Moses Lake plant, which everything had been shut down, and they were talking about a restart. And that's when I originally got a call from a different anode battery producer, and then Sila, like the last week before I was going to give notice, Sila contacted me, and I made a trip to Alameda and got to see the operation. Really was impressed with the operation, the people, the management staff, and decided that's where I wanted to go. And that's you brought this up earlier. That's where the conversation came up that I asked about community involvement and what their feeling was about that. And they had already started working with Big Bend and talking to the schools and things like that. And they reviewed all that with me and said, this is all yours. You can lead it if you'd like. And I was like, done deal. That's what I want to do. So yeah, that's where I've been able to be a part of the community a lot more, and have been able to get the staff involved. We have Misty Aguilar, who does a great job scheduling everybody, letting us know when there's opportunity, and the people are great about getting involved. And so we'll continue doing that, and hopefully as we grow our staff, we can do more in the community, and look forward to partnering with people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it is the real deal. I think I spoke with Chris, and I'm not going to pronounce his last name properly. Is it Doer?
Duger?
Duger.
Duger.
Very early on. I mean, he was already working with Big Bend and CB Tech, but it was really nice to have that phone call. And I think yeah, I mean, the groundwork was definitely set. And like I said, we're so grateful. So okay, so great story. And really, you're talking about the experience, and I want to know a little bit more about that. What was your motivation? Like, how did you know you wanted to go from the operations side into supervising and management and beyond?
I think that naturally, like I was just, I tend to be more of a leader in the process, and so I was always driven to learn more about the business and the different parts and pieces of how we were making silicon or silane gas at REC. And so it was just part of the process, that if I wanted to understand it and be involved in more of the work to get ahead of the curve in terms of technology or anything else that REC was looking into, then I would need to learn it. And so I was always intrigued by that, and just drove myself to want to do more.
Yeah. Good. All right. That's a great lesson. We had last week we had group 14 on, and there was that lesson of, it took them 55 tries. Like, don't give up. Don't ever give up. And don't let anybody tell you can't do it. So that's a message that we pass along to the students all the time. So thanks for kind of reiterating that. So
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I mean, like, it's continual because the business here at Sila, we have 77,000 iterations of different test recipes and things just to get to, and 13 years to get to where we're at today. So it's definitely not a process where instant gratification comes in. You have to go through the process, and it's years and years of raising
yeah.
money, thinking you're gaining ground and you lose some, and then you do gain some ground in areas, but you have to keep pushing. Like, you can't take the first negative as a end all. It's nonstop.
Yeah, yeah, very good, very good. Okay, well, let's get into Sila Nano a little bit here. So can you explain to me and to our audience in very simple terms, what is it that Sila Nano does, and how does your product, the Titan Silicon, how does that improve battery technology?
So Sila creates advanced battery materials, and today a lot of the EVs have graphite in their batteries, and we're a silicon-based anode material maker, a manufacturer. So people should understand that yes, we don't make the battery, we make the material that goes into the battery, and that's the anode material. There's the anode and cathode and the ion. So we produce it would just, in simplistic terms, it's a powder, and
Okay.
it's got silicon, and so really what we're doing is we're improving the overall performance. We're, like I said, we're replacing the conventional graphite with our silicon formula, and we're able to increase the energy density, meaning that you can get more out of your battery than just today's battery, because graphite's really hit the wall in terms of being able to progress. And that means that, we're a smaller battery, lighter battery, a battery that charges more quickly and can hold more of a charge, meaning you're going to get more use out of it. So when you talk about that, and I mentioned the iterations that got us to this point, 77,000, and we have over 200 patents along with that. But when you look at this holistically, how does it impact the market, outside of just Sila? And I think that's the big value of it too. We're pushing for green energy, and our material can be utilized in batteries that store clean energy. But not only that, like, if you're taking a smaller battery and you're transporting smaller batteries, that means that, the trucks that are moving the shipments aren't carrying as much weight when they're moving our products, and it goes into a lot of little different aspects that you can really dig into and see the contributing factors to clean energy and energy storage.
Yeah. Okay. So really the why question is because graphite's it's hit its ceiling. The
Mhm.
graphite's not being, there's no advances in graphite any longer.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is like getting the energy density out of silicon. And silicon has its challenges. I mean, it swells more like when you're charging and utilizing the power. So it can swell, it can crack, but through all those iterations, Sila has been able to really figure out the right recipes that will help us advance. And the innovation that we have at Sila is nonstop. It's continuing to develop, further materials within this area, and we eventually wanted to get to solid state type batteries, and so lots of good work going on and progress being made, and we can definitely appreciate all the work that they're doing in Alameda and what they've done for the last 13 years, because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all that work that they were doing back in Alameda.
I love it. All right. So with that, again, I'm thinking about some of our listeners, some of them obviously I already mentioned, hopefully are students. So what about the day-to-day impact for any of our listeners? Like, what's that mean for our smartphones or for our watches or maybe even the electric vehicles? Like, what does that mean to me who I own an Apple iPhone?
Yeah, I mean, it means that, like, really we can get into, like, once we get into the other spaces outside EV, it could mean your Apple phone. It could mean, a better battery where you have, a lighter battery, a battery that lasts longer and doesn't take as long to charge, essentially. So there's improvements that can be made in all areas that the batteries are utilized, and so it's promising to clean up, the graphite side of things and gain more technology out of it.
Yeah. So we're really on the beginning cusp of all of this, cleaner, greener energy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think there's a lot more work to do, and there's a lot of progress that we can make, and that's what the group in Alameda, the scientists and engineers are working hard on right now, and it's daily that they're looking to progress the products that we make.
Yeah. I think I keep teasing about this, but I feel like maybe I need a road trip to Alameda to check it out.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I might have to shoot this video over to Michelle and Pete after this one. So
Well, you definitely have an invitation.
awesome. Oh, you know what? I don't even need an invitation.
Yeah.
Rosendo, I think I kind of crashed the party last fall when Governor Inslee made his appearance and you guys had the big grand
Oh
grand
yeah.
cutting. I think I kind of snuck my way in there, but
Yeah.
maybe I should admit that in on a recorded.
It's all good. Yeah.
Anyways, so I have so many questions. So let's go back to kind of this, the fact that we're on the early cusps of this technology. So what is it that Sila is preparing for in the future? I mean, maybe 10 years down the road.
So I think the biggest thing is the scale up of the small manufacturing area in Alameda. So currently, we're in the project phase here in Moses Lake where we're building out phase one. And so as we progress over the next few years, we want to expand. We want to expand to 1 million vehicles worth of material. So what does that mean? That means that, like, we have to get through phase one, we have to get the equipment running, get the product moving out and then to the customers. And then, you know, once we do that, we'll continue our participation in the development of utilizing our products with our customers, and then we'll continue on with the second and third phase on through to 2028 roughly, to where we're getting to that million vehicle mark. And then the technology, is always going to be progressing. So, I would expect that by then we're already site selected to build out somewhere in maybe in Europe
Mhm.
and expanding our business. So growth is the biggest thing that I would say, and I think it should be super exciting for Moses Lake because we're definitely not the only one here in the industry that's growing, and there are other industries. I think it's positive for the area, and we continually say, like, even if we were maxed out, we couldn't even be nothing but 2% of the market, really. So it's not, there's enough for everybody, and the opportunities boundless for Moses Lake.
Yeah, very good. Well, let's kind of then take a little bit of a turn with that. What's that mean job wise for the community?
So for Sila, I think that we would, once we get to that point where we talk the final expansions, that would be anywhere from 500 to just under 1,000 employees. The possibilities there, and it depends on, like, how much of the Alameda or R&D work that we would bring into the manufacturing facility. But yeah, it's a lot of jobs, a lot of very good paying jobs and good benefit packages. So 500, if we landed at 500, that would be great. That would be enough to impact Moses Lake and provide something positive.
Oh, for sure. So if we dig a little deeper into those 500 jobs, especially again, if a majority of our audience might be students that are listening, what's that mean to them? Like if they're not sure what clean energy is, or they don't have an interest in clean energy, how do we convey to them, or how would you convey really that thought process that you don't necessarily have to be an expert or be interested in clean energy, because the jobs run across the board. Every job exists, right,
Mhm.
within every single, company. So
Yeah.
what do some of those jobs look like?
So I think that the jobs in manufacturing it's really one of the things that you hit the nail on the head with, because not everybody understands like the amount of jobs that you could get into, the different jobs like engineering, or you could start from entry level technician and move your way through and gain the skills to work into maintenance, all the maintenance crafts like electricians, welders, instrument electricians, things like that. Then you can go into, like, we have jobs, it's called a production specialist. This is a different job where it's an individual that works with the maintenance, engineering, and operations groups to make sure that daily production functions as it should, meaning coordination of shutdown of equipment, maintenance, preventative maintenance, things like that are happening. But I think, in summary, when I get asked that question, I think the biggest thing is that's what we're trying to develop this workforce development with Big Bend and CB Tech for, is so that we can expose younger individuals to the different jobs that are out there and could be a possibility in their future, and really open their eyes to like, it's not just is it just I'm just an operator and I got to work days and nights. That's not the end of it. I mean, because our operators go through a lot of training, gain quite a bit of training. I mean, that's where in operations is where I gained all my training for not only operations but emergency response training. So I was involved in hazmat training, incident command training, and then just regular response to spills and different events at the plant. So there's a lot in there that you'll gain from it. And then it's kind of choose your path, as you're gaining those skills to continually move on. And those that are eager to learn and those that want, something, better for their future will learn that Sila has that type of job for them, and industry has that type of job for them. It's not just Sila, but other industry in the area you can apply those skills to their needs as well, whether it be REC or others in the area that are looking for operators and all kinds of different disciplines. But yeah, it's really something that we're excited about, moving forward on to teach the younger groups and then provide overall opportunities for Moses Lake as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I kind of want to set you up for another one, because it's something that, we try to impart upon the students every time we work with them. If you are in, that type of a position and you're learning these skills, that is the best thing you can be doing. You have to have skills. You don't always have to go on for an education, but you've got to have skills. And eventually you're probably going to want to add education to that to continue moving up the ladder. But if you're in that position, Rosendo, and you're an operator or maintenance, and you want to move on, besides getting in there, doing the job, having the work ethic, showing the interest in it, and showing up for work, how do you move up in a company? What is the one piece of advice if you're doing that work and you want to move on? What's your advice for that person, that employee?
I think the biggest thing that for me, it's very simple. Just be consistent and continue to develop skills. Like, set yourself up for a bigger picture. Like, don't come to work every day thinking that not only just what today holds, but how today impacts my future. So today is much larger than just a 12-hour shift. It's going to be like, I'm doing these things to reach this goal. And that's where you have to look at things in terms of like a 3 to 5 and 6 year plan, and then start doing extra to gain skills outside just the normal work, like taking a class on computer class. If you don't understand, some people don't know how to type, and it's a basic skill that they should have. We use Apple, and it's not the easiest to use when you've been in Windows the whole time. So you can learn skills in both of those areas that'll help you. And when you think about it, like say you're looking for drawings in our system, or you're trying to communicate or do things like that, those computer skills are going to come in big, because you're not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do it. You can just do it because you already know that. And that sets the tone for the right impression that you should be providing to those around you, because a lot of things here are time sensitive, and you don't have a lot of time to be fooling with like a computer. And so knock that out right off the bat. If you're in high school right now, take a class, or if you're at CB Tech or Big Ben, take a class, because that's going to hold a lot more value than you think. And then, furthermore, like whatever skills you can gain outside of work and at work are definitely promising. And I know that what we do, and what I went through at REC was a lot of training, like training for manager skills, for soft skills, for different type of skill sets, like when you're leading groups, and those things you have to sign up for, and you got to get the most out of it and understand, again, big picture, and be consistent about utilizing those skills. Don't go to a class and then just let it go. Try to utilize those skills every day at work, and you'll find that it's much more rewarding to your career as you progress than you think.
Oh, I'm so glad you said all of that, because that is the big thing, especially with our high school students, that we're telling them, number one, yes, go get those skills. It's free. Right now in high school, it's free. There's so many different certifications, and every single employer that I work with wants those computer skills. So I'm so glad that you said that. And then to reiterate that it's free. And then I always tell my girls, you got to ask. You
Yeah.
have to ask for what you want. So you can be out there and working super hard, but sometimes the employees or the student who is working hard and putting in that extra effort doesn't always get noticed, because they're not a problem, right? They're getting things done. They know they can count on that person. So sometimes you do have to speak up. It's like I was saying, I don't always need an invitation. A lot of times I invite myself. My kids one year for New Year's were like, that's your New Year's resolution. You cannot invite yourself places anymore. I said, no, this is a soft skill.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but anyway, so I'm glad you said those things, but I told you this was going to go quickly. We only have about 2.5, 3 minutes left. So I want to put it out there. Anybody who is on with us live, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. You can put it in the chat. Any questions for Rosendo?
Well, I was going to let Mark go, but you know me, Carrie, I will ask a question.
I like it.
So I do have a couple questions. And first of all, I love Sila. Rosendo, he's got Misty there, who's a dynamo, and they have really helped our club with volunteerism. Rosendo's on our board now, and Misty's played a big role over the years. So kudos to them for like not just talking the talk, but walking the walk of being involved in the community. I did have a question, like you're hiring these people, but how many are local hires? Do you have an idea of the percentage?
I would say that right now I would say 75% are local. And what we did was we opened up some positions in Alameda for individuals if they were interested in coming over to work on the project. So some of them are like on a 3-year temporary assignment, but a greater percentage is going to be from the Columbia Basin. So that's where we really get into the workforce development program, because I know that when you talk about like the chemical operators and things like that that are a bigger part of the hiring, a lot of people will think like, we need to go to Texas or Louisiana and other places. For me, I think that the Columbia Basin, if you look at the statistics, the Columbia Basin has a lot of people that you can choose from and develop their skills to meet your standards. And we know that there's the truth of it is a lot of kids go start college and then for whatever reason return back home to the Columbia Basin because of whatever that doesn't work out for them, and they're looking for work. So it's not that they don't, you know, that they're not talented enough or have the ability to learn. It's just that they need the opportunity. And so I want to focus more on like the local assets that we have, like CV Tech and Big Bend, to get the Columbia Basin engaged to where we can hire more. And we're not talking about going, you know, somewhere else to obtain individuals for employment. We do have some really good people that we have brought in from, like, you know, Arizona, for example, and that's far and few between right now. It's primarily out of the Columbia Basin.
Nice. Kim, did you have another question?
I will let Mark ask if he has any questions.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we are at 12:45, but Mark, feel free to fire away if you've got one.
You don't. I think those base skills that he talked about were spot on. You know, that's questions I ask when I hire as well, because I don't have time to teach someone. And I agree with that transition from Windows to Apple. Yeah, it's not fun. So, I mean, I have 100 billion different questions, but obviously not for this forum. But I'm grateful for the brief today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming in. Well, listen, I definitely want to be respectful of everybody's time. We're just a little bit over, but when there's this good of information, it's hard to cut it off. But Rosendo, thank you so much for joining me again. I appreciate you and your team. Misty is a dynamo. She's like the ultimate gatekeeper, and she's very you know, it's very bountiful when she opens those gates. I'm telling you, we get flooded with help, and we appreciate that. So I hope your whole team knows it. But yeah, this kind of concludes the MVP for today. I will put this out on our YouTube channel and social media, so you can find it there as well. And look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks. Likewise. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank
Bye.
you.